We'll get going, everybody. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The roll call, sir, please.
Mr. Arcuri? Mr. Bova?
Here.
Mr. Brodsky?
Here.
Mr. Cork?
Yes.
Mr. Coyne?
Here.
Mr. DeLeo?
Here.
Mr. Ford? Mr. Kane?
Here.
Mr. Karam?
Here.
Mr. Motolo? Ms. Sesney? Here. And Mr. Wallace?
Thank you. You have in your packet the August 20, 2018 minutes. Well, let's go for a motion. Someone care to move them? Thanks, Denny. Second, Bruce, thanks. Any corrections, deletions, additions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. The first item on our agenda, resolution decision regarding establishment of water rates, fees, and charges effective January 1, 2019. Do you want to have any comments on this from Jim or Pat? I mean, we've been through this now quite a few times.
Happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
The rates are in the booklet that I believe you all have on your desk.
Summary.
Bruce?
The only thing I wanted to say, and unfortunately it's a burden that is very difficult to get past, is the size of our system. I think, what are we at, 700 miles?
Yep.
So we have 700 miles of pipe. And if you think about it, we replace 1, 2, 3 miles of pipe a year. And I can tell you, it's not a good idea to put our system on a 250-year replacement schedule. It would be great if we could replace, I was just talking to Jim about it, 10 miles a year, 15 miles a year. Not just replace, it's rebuilding, it's replacing. Sometimes you can throw a pipe in the middle of it or cement the sides or do something. But in a new pipe, you could be looking at $1 million a mile, and at replacements, you could be at $500,000. Can you imagine if we tried to raise the rates to deal with that? And we have a responsibility, the people that are going to be here after us. We're all going to be gone at some point in time, and they may still be stuck with a 225-year replacement schedule on the pipes. So I think this board has done an excellent job of keeping the staff focused on both keeping the system in good shape and maintaining a reasonable rate for the homeowner and business in our community. So I'm very proud to be on this board, and I'm very proud of the board members for what they've done over the years. So that was...
Thank you, Bruce. Yes, Dave?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that, we've looked at this for a couple of months now, and we were going to have a higher rate. We've scaled it down to the 2%, which is actually below the inflation rate. I think that's a good move, while we're still maintaining all of the services and keeping things funded, even with an overall increase in our expenses of over 3%. We're still keeping the rate down at 2%. I think it's good for everybody.
Thank you. Yes, Denny?
Yeah, it's a sort of an insider because I worked for the authority for 40 years, in the maintenance department. The only thing I would like to see, I mean, we're going to vote yes on this budget, at least I am. But what I would like to see next year is a little less outside contracting. We have a room full of engineers. We've got Dick, who's excellent, but yet we still send things out. Our maintenance department, we bought bigger equipment for them, track hose. We went from 4-man crews to 5-man crews, and we still contract things out. And I don't think that's necessary. These guys are more than qualified to make them hookups over by the canal, down there by Maynard Pump Station, and anything else, because we've done it in the past with much smaller equipment and less people. So I think we keep an eye on that. Maybe next year we can keep maybe another 2% or less. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? There is a proposed resolution in your packet. If someone cares to move that or make another motion. Yes,
We'll make a
Dave?
motion to move. the budget at the 2%.
According to the resolution that we have in our packet, David,
Yeah.
decision regarding establishment of water rates, fees and charges effective January 1, 2019. Is there a second on that? Thanks, Vince. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. Where the heck is my agenda? Next item on our agenda, resolution approval of the Water Authority's 2019 calendar year proposed budget. And again, all these items we have been looking at for months. I don't want anybody to think that we just got these this evening. There's something, Pat?
Nope.
Just checking. Jim, do you have anything to add?
No, I know that we did 2 budget workshops. The last one you saw was 2.5%. We actually pared it down a little further. So what you have in front of you is a one-page summary of the highlights, and then the colored packet is more of the detail, the revenues and expenses associated with the 2% budget.
Yes, Bruce?
Just to reinforce what Pat had said earlier, we are very sensitive to the rates. By the way, I want to thank you for our salary increase of cookies this year. Board member got cookies today, so that was,
It's coming out of your
it's
salary.
coming out of the salary. We don't get paid. There's $815,000 in the budget that's carried over from the bank. We're taking money out of the bank in order to balance the budget. We've been doing this every year, and we've been prudent in our selection of the amount, and this is reasonable considering, our situation. But if we didn't do that, the rate would have been another 5%. So we are very sensitive to what people pay, and I know Jay, he's a very good friend, and my wife also pays the bills and reminds me every quarter about the water bill, and I have to remind her that it's not all the water, and go yell at the county executive for the sewer rates, but I think we did a really good job on the budget. The staff are wonderful. I can't say enough about the staff. They're very reasonable in their requests, and that means a lot.
This is a process we start in July at the staff level. So we actually work through this for 5 to 6 weeks before we even present a draft budget for you folks to consider.
Any further comments or questions? Someone care to make a motion as to approve, please?
Yeah.
Is there a second? Any further discussion or concerns? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. Next item on our agenda, creation of new industrial water rate schedule for water users in excess of 1.5 million gallons per day. And we do have that resolution in our packet. If someone cares to move that.
I'll move.
Thank you, Betty.
Second.
Okay, Rich, thanks. I'm sorry, you're moving it according to the resolution as presented? Did you have any comments on this, Pat? Further comments, I should say? Any further comments or questions, concerns from board members? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. The next item on our agenda, resolution adoption of revised rules and regulations and fee schedule for the Water Authority. It's also a prepared resolution in our packet. Anything to add to that one, Pat?
No, and as I said during the hearing, it's mostly just a lot of language cleanups, getting rid of some antiquated language, adding some new definitions so customers know exactly what we're talking about with our terminology, some revised diagrams. Mostly cleanups, but just trying to move ourselves into a better understanding with the customers on their responsibilities and ours, and make sure that we're covering our costs when we perform very specific services at one location.
The rules and the rates are all put up on the website.
Yes.
Quick question, Pat, if I may. Regarding this proposal, what would be the net increase? Do you you have any idea? What would be the net
Monetarily in the budget for rates and fees, Jim, the ancillary fees is where that falls. Do you know that number off the top of your head? I'll take a look.
About,
$354,000.
The 2%, you're saying?
Oh, what's the increase?
No, I didn't know.
The amount in the budget for those fees?
Yes.
Oh, how much have they gone up?
how much would be the net increase for those?
Oh,
In a lot of cases, we haven't even put revenues in for some of the new fees because we kind of were conservative and said, you know, let's not put any amount in there the first year and see what happens and how the reflection of the new rates are.
Do you have any anticipated number?
It probably would be 100 to 200,000 off the top of my head.
Thank you.
Anything else, Dave? Did you have something, Bruce?
Nope, I was gonna say that we're budgeting less than last year's budget on all the fees. And it's not, these aren't the only fees, there are other fees that we don't collect as much. I think we've been pretty reasonable there over the years.
Any other comments or concerns? I forget, did somebody make a motion on this?
No.
I will.
Thank you, Dave. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Rich. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. Next, third quarter investment statement ending September 30, 2018, which is in our packet. Jim?
Yes. Public Authorities Law requires that we provide to you a quarterly statement of investments with earned income and expenses associated with those investments. So you have in front of you the third quarter ending September 30th. And these are amounts that are primarily down at with our trustee down at the Bank of New York. Any questions, comments?
Any questions for Jim? We need a motion to approve this, Jim?
Yes.
Someone care to make a motion? Thanks, Vince. Thanks, Rich. And the second. Any further comments or concerns? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. Anything you wish to add to the finances, Jim?
We are above our budget as far as consumption is concerned. For the year to date, we're about 2% above budget. We're above in our revenue year to date ending September 30th. Just a note that in October here, the last few days, we got a refund from our Suez, our contractor up at the treatment plant, for $475,000. That's following a review of the first year that they were in operation up at the treatment plant. So they started from August 1 to July 30th, 31st. And they did a review of the year, and they had a refund coming back to us of $475,000. So we can use that money going into the end of the year.
Are we thinking of bringing them in, Pat, for a review of things?
They just gave us an annual report. I didn't know, Phil, at this point, if you wanted to review any of it tonight, but we can bring them in for the next meeting. I think it'd be a great
Well, why don't we
opportunity.
just do it?
Yeah, there's a copy, I think, too, everybody got a copy, and if you won't have questions or you want to do it another time, we can certainly do that.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to bring them in maybe for the next meeting if they're available. But, you know, we now have a year under our belt with them. It's gone, we think, exceedingly well. They're a very responsible and responsive company. They're doing a bang-up job up there. And they've worked very hard to not only be a close partner to us, but also a partner within the community as well. So far so good. I think we made a great decision, and we'll see about trying to bring them in for the November meeting and talk a little bit more about their experience there.
Any other questions for Jim? Did you have anything, Bruce? Pat?
Other than spending a lot of time on the budget, a couple of things I want to say very quickly. Some of you may know that my mom passed away recently, and I received some very nice flowers at the funeral on behalf of the board, so I just wanted to say thank you very much, and the cards I received. So thank you, appreciate your support. On the other hand, other stuff going on. You continue to see tidbits in the news about the situation down in Ilion. And as you know, they have reached out to us to include us in the conversation on what their final solution might be to have a reliable source of clean water. So we've had several meetings with them. So far, that conversation's gone very well. We will be meeting with them again in the very near future. Obviously, money's the biggest obstacle, but I think it's shaping up to be probably going to be a good cooperative, collaborative effort. And I think maybe it could become an example within New York State for regionalization and shared services between communities that should be highlighted throughout the state. And maybe we can lead the way on doing something major here. But we're certainly willing and open to talking with them about it. And I'm optimistic that that may happen. And the pipeline route that it would take to get down there would open up some opportunities for other towns and villages along the way to perhaps get some advantages and benefits from it as well. So we do expect that we'll be having conversations with other communities if this project begins to take shape. So when those conversations happen, we'll certainly keep you posted. But we're optimistic right now on it. Last thing I want to mention is that our automated meter reading system that I mentioned during the rate hearing, the radio reads, we do get reads now every day from every meter. The system it replaced was totally manual, so a person had to walk to every single location. On a quarterly basis, we would get one reading every 90 days. Now we get daily reads overnight automatically. So out of 39,500 accounts or so, we're down to just a couple hundred locations that we've been having a little bit of trouble getting into and converting. But we're still working diligently on those, but that project is now, I'm going to say 99.8% done, somewhere around there, how the math works out. And it's working pretty well. So since then, over the last few months, we've had 2 meetings at the staff level in-house to talk about how we might begin to do a migration from quarterly reads to monthly reads for everybody, and that way the water bill becomes more manageable if it's a monthly bill, same with everything else, rather than receiving it every 90 days and some customers don't even know when it's coming in and they get surprised by it, all that stuff. So we've identified a few obstacles that we have to deal with, and we're talking about how best we do that without quadrupling our postage budget and our printing budget and everything else. So obviously electronic billing and electronic payments is going to play a big role in that. And we're developing some strategies on how we might move forward. The goal is that in the next few months we'll be able to sit down and present some options for board consideration on how and when we might be able to do that. And whether we would do it for everybody or, perhaps maybe not make it mandatory, make it optional under certain conditions. And so we're looking forward to having that conversation with you. But we have begun those discussions. So stay tuned. We'll try to bring you more on it. Other than that, if there's any other questions that we haven't taken. Yes.
I was just making a small comment that during the public hearing, you indicated that it was necessary to have a public hearing prior to approval of the rates. I don't think that's true. I think that the function of the board is set the rates based upon the needs of the system, and that the hearing can be held afterward if necessary. But the function of the board is to set the rates, whether or not you have a public hearing ahead of time or not.
Okay, I'll research that. But
Well, that's the way it's been all along.
my understanding in my
And I
21
think the
years here.
responsibility of every board member is to ensure that the rates are set to satisfy the needs.
All right, I'll get a letter from bond counsel for you to look at.
You don't have to.
I'm pretty sure that before a rate decision is made, we are required to have a public hearing.
When do you think that changed?
That's been my understanding all along. I could be wrong. If I stand, if
I think we've had
I,
that discussion.
if I'm incorrect, I'll be gladly
You need to be
20
correct.
years.
Okay, well, I'll find out just my own knowledge.
Disagree.
Lastly,
Well, please report that back to the next board.
yes, and this is obviously a little bit after the fact, but you all also have a comment, a letter, I'm sorry, from our rate consultant, Ed Marcus at Amawak Consulting, certifying the rates. Probably should have mentioned that before you voted on it, but if we didn't have it, I would have told you that. But it is required by law that an outside rate consultant review our proposed rates and make sure they work. And Jim has worked very closely, and Jim and Scott Gorgas and I, the three of us, have had a number of conference calls with our rate consultant. He has in fact certified that the rate you passed works, so we're in good shape.
Thank you, Pat. Any old business? Any new business? We're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.